people. Hi. Hey, you ready? All right.
Wait, why didn't you just cover your camera with a piece of paper or something?
You have to understand, there's a level of disabling things that
Yeah, we need it here.
what if that piece of paper falls off? What if they can get other information?
Are you watching Mr. Robot yet this year?
No.
No. Then you aren't paranoid enough.
Yeah. I worked DOD for 3 years. I'm very paranoid about things. There's a level of paranoia that is a safe level. I feel like I'm at that. I had to upgrade my firewall because I kept on getting a lot of hits from China and Russia. You think they're not still hacking people? The answer is they are still hacking people. In fact, I got a DDoS attack a few years ago. That sucked.
Wait, on your personal IP
Yeah.
account?
I had a static IP.
Mm.
Dedicated static IP. They figured that out, and then they also tried to commit identity theft and some other stuff, but then again, they couldn't figure out my passwords for a lot of things because all my passwords are different. It honestly depends on what I'm actually using. So that's another factor. Just a second. I'm gonna boot this back into Linux because asking me to use Windows for an hour and a half, you might as well come in. Eat some pizza. Please eat some pizza with lots and lots of veggie. Chicken with jalapeno, bacon and mushroom, double mushroom. Mushroom always seems to disappear first, so. Oh wait, why is it not using computer? No, that should be computer. Weird, okay. Totally shares this computer. Worst case scenario, I could always Chromecast that. So that shouldn't be too much of an issue.
Oh yeah.
So today we're going to see So let's see if it just wants to broadcast to it. DMS lecture hall. See if this just plays nice. And it does! Ironically enough. Okay. So we'll put audio. Right. And works well.
Thank you for taking the time to reflect on what you've done so far. Being able to teach others about what you've built feels rewarding, but it's also a core skill in being able to communicate with teammates that you may work with on a software project.
Wait, what happened? What happened? What happened? What did you? Sorry, you lost me. Let's make sure. What did it do? Lost it.
It looks like you changed the input to HDMI 2, is what it?
I don't know. Let's see. Does it register anything? Okay.
There. It's pixelated, but it was out for a second.
There we go. That was odd.
Communicate with teammates that you may work with on a software project. With that in mind, let's keep moving forward so you can go back to those people soon and share your progress. So far, the functionality of the quantity picker in our app is working well. So now we can spend a little bit of time making it look a little better, a little sexier. We want to move closer towards our end goal. This is what we have now, and this is what we want. The buttons in our app currently work, but they're not in the ideal layout. This layout leads to a better user experience because we're going to be adding more fields to the order form in Lesson 3. With this layout of the buttons, it's easier to scan through the list of fields in the order form quickly. In the current layout, if you want to scan through the form quickly, you would read quantity plus 2 minus price and so on. So it's faster to scan through the form if the buttons are laid out like this. This updated layout also takes advantage of more of the horizontal space on the screen, instead of squishing everything into a very narrow vertical column. The challenge becomes identifying the gap between what we have now and what we want. Can we repurpose the views that are already on screen and move them into the new position for the new layout? Or do we have to add views or remove views? Before we get lost in the details of changing the XML, I want you to first plan out how you're going to approach building this layout. In your own words, describe your thoughts on each step that we've taught you for how to build layouts. You don't need to write XML at this point, you just plan out your strategy. These notes are going to help you actually write the code at each step, to be as detailed as you want. The first step is to select the views. Which views are you going to need in terms of text view, image view, button, etc.? The second step is to position your views. Can you describe how these views are positioned on the screen? Which view groups are relevant to building this layout? Step 3 is to style the views. Is there anything we need to do to change the visual look and feel of each of these views?
Sorry, chewing's happening. So, what views are we going to need to build this? Name some things.
Text view.
What?
Text view.
Text view? Right? We're going to need, what else?
I think that's the day that we find out next week's reviews.
View, select view. And how to build this layout. So we need text view. We need what? Button. Do we need anything else? Other than text views and button? This is part of a continuation of a class. But you're more than welcome to join us for today and catch up with the other sessions that we've had online.
Are there other sessions going on somewhere in this building?
No, this is the only one, unfortunately. You're more than welcome to join. So text view button, position view. What kind of position views are we going to need?
Linear layout.
Linear layout, right? Do we need anything else? We can do everything with just linear layout. Okay. Style views. What kind of styling are we going to need? Like text color. Let's see. All caps. Yes. All caps. What about background? Right? Because we need to be able to set the background color for those buttons, maybe, right? And what about text size? Don't we need text size? Yes, no. Is all the text the same size? No? Guys, you guys are really tired today. Is this just a long, you know what? It's hot.
I don't think any of us can see it.
It's super small. Thank you very much for making that as tiny as possible. All right, we'll just put text size, right? And then we'll submit the answer. Woohoo! We did things. Congratulations.
When planning how to build this layout, we're going to start with the assumption that we're going off of what we currently have in our app. We're not building this from scratch. For step 1, selecting the views, we actually already have all the views that we need. There's no need to add or remove views. We should have 3 buttons and 4 text views in our layout. For step 2, positioning the views, I first describe what the layout looks like to me. I see a header followed by a row of buttons and a text view. Then I see another header and another text view. And lastly, that is followed by an order button. From this observation, I notice that we can't just use a vertical linear layout because this item here is made up of more than one view. We could potentially consider relative layout, but I'm going to leave a question mark by that. For step 3, we want to style the views. The style actually remains pretty much the same as we had before, although I do notice that this quantity value has a little bit of space between the minus button and the plus button. So we might want to achieve this with either padding or margin around this text view.
Great.
When discussing how to position views in the last quiz, we may have mentioned using a relative layout. I know
So I just want to pause here because I don't think I've ever designed a page that was just one linear layout. I don't think that's ever existed ever. Because anytime you're just thinking of just a linear layout, that's assuming that you have everything that's going to fit in a line in one part of the page and not occupy the whole page, right? So if I say want to have text on this side and this side, I'd have to use, and I want to have like an address in the middle, I'm going to have to use either 2 linear layouts or a relative layout with a contained linear layout, right? So everything, just like drawing, you're doing the same thing here. You're taking a bunch of complex shapes and breaking them down into the simple shapes that you can draw. Just like when you think about, if you ever were in class, like, and you were a kid, and they taught you how to draw a head. What do they teach you? They don't just say, draw a big head. What they say is to draw a big circle, a little circle, a line down the middle, and then figure out your cheekbones, right? So what is the shape of the profile? But overall, just from connecting 2 lines, an oval and a circle, you've made the shape of a head. So you're doing the same thing here. You're always going to end up with relatively like complex shapes, but they all break down into simple parts. So it looks like you know how to draw heads really well, when in fact all you know how to do is connect a couple of lines and draw some circles. right? So that's ultimately what we're trying to show you is with what we're going to go into here is you can do really fancy stuff just by all of the components that you've already learned. So why don't we get into it?
Did, but I want to introduce you to another way that you can build a layout for our app would be more ideal using nested view groups. Nested view groups means putting view groups inside other view groups. That way you can build more interesting and complex layouts like these. Let's see how you would build up one of these layouts. Say, for example, you have a vertical linear layout with 3 views, an image view and 2 text views. What if you wanted to overlay some text on top of this image? But with a relative layout, you can. So we can replace this child with a relative layout instead. Then we can put the image view with this relative layout. This image view is now aligned to each edge of the parent relative layout. So there you see an example of a relative layout that's contained within a larger linear layout. You can have many combinations of view groups within other view groups. For instance, you can have a relative layout as a group view for an app. That can contain a couple of views and images.
Oh.
Also add a linear layout child of this broader relative layout. This linear layout itself can contain other children, like 2 image views. You can nest as many view groups inside other view groups as you want. However, be careful because the more nesting that you can do, the more expensive for your app to lay out.
Sorry, this is like freaking out for a second.
Yep.
Let it buffer.
Will lay out. But it can be very complex to calculate the position of each of these views. So it's recommended not with the relative. And we will ask to show you some cases where it would be useful to use nested view groups. The Google Now app shows you cards of relevant information based on your current situation and your current location. Choice, then it can show you the score for the latest game. Imagine using vertical.
Okay. I don't know what's going on. We'll just see if this does a thing. Just a second. I'm gonna recast it.
When discussing how to position the linear layout, you can't overlap views. But with a relative linear layout as a child of this broader relative layout on the screen. The relative layout in particular is a very flexible layout, but it can be very complex to calculate the position of each of these views relative to others. So it's recommended to not have too many layers of nesting within a relative layout. I pulled some examples from real-life Google apps to show you some cases where it would be useful to use nested view groups. The Google Now app shows you cards of relevant information based on your current situation, like the current time or current location. If you like a certain team like the Red Sox, good choice, then it can show you the score for the latest game. To build out the layout for this card, you can imagine using a vertical linear layout because the information is displayed as rows. However, the first item in this vertical linear layout is not just a single text view. It's made up of multiple views. In fact, you would build this first item as a horizontal linear layout made up of an image view and 2 text views. Same for the second item in this vertical linear layout. You would build it with a horizontal linear layout containing an image view and 2 text views. Another card in the Google Now app shows relevant stocks that you may be interested in. I wish the Google stock was still at that price. Anyways, you can also build out this layout as a vertical linear layout because you can imagine the rows here. Except these middle entries aren't just a single text view, they're made up of multiple text views. For this line item relating to the Google stock price, you could use a horizontal linear layout and fill it with 4 text views. Same for the other stock prices as well. These horizontal linear layouts are children of this broader vertical linear layout. In the Google Play Music app, you can of course listen to music. While this looks like a complicated layout to build, you can actually break it down into smaller view groups that you recognize. This pattern feels like a vertical linear layout with 3 different children. This first child can be built using a relative layout because the views are relative to each other. This second child can also be built using a relative layout because the views are overlapping each other. And this third child here looks like a horizontal linear layout made up of 5 different buttons. Again, we can use nested view groups to build out this screen. This is just one way to build out the layout. You can build it in many other ways as well. In the Google Maps app, earlier we saw that there are detail pages for individual locations of restaurants. You can't build out this screen with just a single linear layout or a single relative layout. You need to nest a bunch of view groups together. On a broad scale, we can see that the information is almost organized into rows. So we can use a vertical linear layout as the parent view. One child could be this whole layout here, another child could be this row of buttons, another child would be this description, and so on. But within each child, it's not just a single view. We have multiple views. This child in the broader vertical linear layout is made up of 3 individual views. So you can use a horizontal linear layout with equal weights to each view so that they get spread out evenly. This child in the broader vertical linear layout can also be made up of a horizontal linear layout with an image view and a text view. If you keep scrolling this page, you see more information on the restaurant. Again, I can imagine the individual rows of information here. Using a vertical linear layout for all this information still works. And again, some rows are more complex than just a single text view. This row shows a bunch of available times where you can make a reservation, and it's made up of 3 different buttons that you can arrange using a horizontal linear layout. This row of pictures can be built using a horizontal linear layout as well. And actually, within this horizontal linear layout, this first child is not just a single image view, it's an image view with a text view. So you could use a relative layout to build out this first child. So you can see how there can be view groups within view groups within view groups. There's actually more view groups beyond just relative layout and linear layout. There's also frame layout and grid layout. We're not going to have time to cover those in this course, but I definitely recommend that you go out and learn about them on your own, because sometimes those would be better than just using a relative or linear layout.
I can tell you in all honesty that
Let's look at how nested view.
even I don't really use those other layout systems very often. Frame layout gets used more for like components that you've actually put into something else and then you're including inside of it. So it's a view inside of a view inside of a view, and it's kind of like programmatic stuff. Grid view gets used somewhat often, but it's really, again, another container of other views. So if you like been to a shopping application, right? Even Amazon, you can select grid as an option so that you see bigger pictures with less text. That's an example of a grid view. Frame layout, again, is really just a container for other views.
Groups would apply to our app. The information in our app looks like it's arranged in a vertical column, so we can use a vertical linear layout for this. This looks good so far because we have one view per row in the vertical linear layout. But when we get to this row, it's actually made up of multiple views. We can use a horizontal linear layout to build out this row composed of a button, a text view, and a button. So this linear layout would be the second child in the bigger vertical linear layout. In a moment, I'm going to show you 3 different XML layout files, and I want to ask you which one you think accurately builds up the layout that we want. The catch is I don't want you to copy these files and run them in Android Studio. I want you to make an educated guess based off of reading and understanding this code. You can find this link in the instructor notes. It has 3 options listed: option A, option B, and option C. One of these options correctly builds out the layout that we want. This is going to be challenging because we haven't previously encountered XML with nested view groups. We're going to split this challenge across 2 quizzes, so I won't ask you to make a decision yet. For this first quiz, I want you to sketch out the view hierarchy diagram for each of the XML files. Here's a quick spiel on what view hierarchy means. You'll need paper and something to write with in order to sketch out these diagrams. The way that Android organizes all these views on screen is in a view hierarchy, or a tree structure of views. This is simply a diagram that represents the view hierarchy. It shows the parent and child relationships among the views. The root view of this whole layout is the linear layout. It has 3 children: a relative layout, a text view, and another text view. And then this relative layout, in turn, has...
Oh no.
be that gets created by Android. We have a relative layout as a root view, and it has 4 children, an image view, a couple text views, as well as a linear layout. And this linear layout, in turn, has 2 image views as its children. Now you understand what a view hierarchy diagram is. By sketching out the diagram for each of these XML layouts, you will better understand which view is the parent view, who the children are, and whether those children have children views or not. If you still need a hint, here are some examples of how to go from XML layouts to drawing a view hierarchy diagram. In this layout, we have a root view of a linear layout. By the way, I added these dots here because I couldn't fit all the code here. With a root view as a linear layout, we draw that at the top of the tree. And then it contains 2 children text views, so you draw those as children underneath that. And that's it. This is a more complicated layout. We have a root view that's a linear layout, and it contains 3 direct children, 2 text views, and a relative layout. Then inside that relative layout, we have an image view and a text view as children. When you're done drawing out the view hierarchy diagram for each option, then go ahead and check these boxes to continue. In the following quiz, I'll ask you to make a selection on which option is best, but for now, you don't have to make a decision.
Okay, so I sent you guys all the links on the Slack channel for all the options. So let's see if I can make this pretty big. And I'll hijack it over to here. Don't just say things. Okay, so did everybody get the options open? To see what would make that? I want to see the options. The other thing is I am missing dry erase markers because I would love to just draw this right now. Somebody may have taken them. I'm not seeing any of them. So just like we talked about before, what 2 view groups do we need to make this layout? She explained it earlier. What do we need? What do we need everybody to make this layout?
Linear layout, nested layout.
And a nested linear layout. Do you see why? I'm going to go through that. So we look at everything is arranged in a line, all left aligned, except for the buttons for more and less on quantity, right? So in order to make those buttons, make that all aligned in a single row, we need to either define that as a linear layout, which would be the easiest, because everything in that thing is in a line. You don't have anything that's obscure. You don't have anything that has to go far right. They're all right next to each other. So we can make it a horizontal linear layout, right? So let's take a look at that code. You got the code up?
Oh, the example. Or the
thing I sent on the Slack list?
Oh yeah. I
You got your code up? Yes. GM Valera. I'll just add you right now.
Did you add me as well?
Yes. Give me why don't you come over here and give me your Gmail that you need, or email. One of the 2. So I'll invite GM Valera, Valera.
At gmail.com. A.
Okay. So, and then yours? WAY at LEO, Leo? Leo mail? Okay, you're gonna have to check that in. It happens. Because that's a little too fancy. The fact that it doesn't end with like, eat more pizza, everybody. Please, eat pizza.
I'm going to eat pizza just because I don't want you to have to take it home, so.
Yeah, I mean, my husband is already like, we're going out to eat like 2 or 3 nights a week. I'm like, I can't cook So,
Oh, there, give her your email and show it.
yeah, type it in. Do you need your something? Just an email. You can write yourself. Any other paperwork? Shift? Oh. Whatever you type. Shift. All right. We have two more people that do that themselves quickly, and we'll decide. All right. And no, your emails aren't being shown on the screen. Which is another convenient thing.
Where do you go for that? The one you sent.
It's going to be in the general right here. Link to options A,
Right here.
B, and C.
Thanks.
Yep. And then we'll add another person. All right. Type yourself in. Sorry, the table never got moved over there because there's still pizza on it. Or you could have the pizza table, which could be both delicious and horrifying at the same time. Table made of pizza. All my electronics would be sticky and gross. But I would never have to leave my desk to go eat. But I would also become very sick of pizza. So, man, people must, like last time mushroom was the thing. So I went double mushroom and nobody's touched mushroom this time. Just, you like mushroom and stuff? Or double mushroom is not a thing? Okay. But apparently, like olive and tomato is like wicked gone. I have to learn y'all's like flavors. Pepperoni went pretty darn fast. That was an extra large, so. All right. Oh, John Tram
Yeah.
at Gmail.
Oh, 7. After the morning.
What? Yeah, all three of these are veggie. Those two, one is bacon and mushroom, the other one's chicken and jalapeno. This is green pepper and banana pepper. That is green pepper and mushroom, and that's double mushroom. We always run out of veggies, so make sure that at least more than half is veggie.
Sorry.
Yeah, it says, oh, you've already been invited. So.
Cool.
Yeah, I probably invited you last time, and you probably just didn't accept me because nobody ever accepts me. I'm a pariah.
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. Look for Slack. Not from within, but in your Gmail.
Yeah.
Terrible jokes are only part of the things that you get in this class. All right, so have you guys looked at the page? Looked at options A, B, and C?
Yeah.
Are you Canadian right now? Because that's the only reason that you should be saying.
Yeah. I'm correct. It's, it has an S in here with the.
Wow, you really are Canadian right now. What?
So you could use B, but it would be wrong.
Can you explain?
No, I'm just kidding.
Just kidding. JK.
Oh yeah, I'm saying you could say it's B, but that would not be the correct answer.
I would say B, but JK. So, all right. Can anybody explain why it's A? Why it's the Canadian answer that isn't C? Yes.
Okay, so it has a text view, and so it starts with linear layout, and it has a text view for quantity, and then it has another linear layout that's horizontally oriented.
I love how you're actually visualizing how it's put together. That's exactly what you have to do, right? Like, you have to take it and you have to divide it out. Okay.
All right, and so then it's got a button view for that minus button, and then it's got the text view for the number, and then another button for the plus button, and then that linear layout ends, and then you have a text view for the price, and then a text view for the money, and then another button for the order. And it's almost identical to B, except B says vertical on the second to the next figure.
Ah. All about the details, isn't it?
Oh, it's horizontal. Okay, I understand. It only needs to be wrong for one reason. For sure.
Yes, exactly. Well, maybe not in relationships, but in terms of code, yes. Understand that computers are basically your mother-in-law. Anytime you make a mistake, they're gonna notice. All right. I love my mothers-in-law. Don't ever contact them. This is recorded, but don't send it to them, please. I have multiple mothers-in-law.
Hopefully Steve wasn't watching this.
Oh, I guarantee you he's watching this. Not really, no. I love you, that, but. All right. Let us select the A. What? That could be a thing right now. All right. We're going to hit submit answer.
Oh,
Ooh.
it's not wrong. Huh. Interesting.
Ooh.
Maybe Catherine's wrong.
Sure, I think she's still. Let's try again. You said B.
Yeah, the one time I was taking a quiz and I got the answer wrong because I spelled her name wrong, so I don't like her.
Okay, wait. Okay. Oh, it says just to determine the correct XML layout, first draw out each one. I can select all of them. That's what?
Great
The answer
job.
is everyone. That is the answer, everybody, apparently.
I'm going to draw the view hierarchy diagram for options A, B, and C. We'll start with option A. It contains a linear layout as the root view, so let me draw that. Then I want to figure out the next layer of the view hierarchy, which would be the direct children of this linear layout. I'm going to scroll through the XML files to figure out the direct children of this linear layout. We have a text view, a linear layout, another text view, and then a button. So let me draw that in. Cool, that looks good, but we actually skipped over a bunch of XML related to this linear layout. This nested linear layout contains a button, a text view, and a button. Let's draw those in.
Android.
This is the view hierarchy diagram for option A. At a high level, there's a parent linear layout as the root view. It contains 5 children views, and one of the children actually is a linear layout that contains 3 more views. Great, let's move on to option B. In option B, we have a parent linear layout as the root view again. Now we can figure out the direct children of this linear layout. We have a text view, a linear layout, another text view, and a button. This nested linear layout also has more children. We have a button, a text view, and another button. Hopefully, you're getting the idea of how to read an XML file by looking at the outermost parent first and then going inwards from there. And last but not least, we have option C. The root view is a linear layout again. Let's look for.
So I just wanted to pause here. How many of you have programming experience prior, or were a student of programming? When she's going through those diagrams of view hierarchies, what's something that looks extremely similar to? If you have formal training in programming and those things, what does that look extremely similar to? What? Okay, one at a time, raise your hand. It's okay. Yes, go. What? What kinds of trees?
Yes.
Yes. So these look like data structures, right? So when you think about data structures, you're thinking about how data is organized and addressed. In this case, we've assigned labels to them, but the flow of how it actually comes together is very similar, right? Because you're having nesting, you're having branching, you're having how things are actually pulling together, right? So if you think about it, if you're having trouble visualizing it in your head based off of what we're seeing, in XML and things like that, think of it as, okay, if I can put it in a tree, then I can understand how everything flows together, right? If I can think about it as a data structure, maybe that'll help me, right? Okay, so let's move on.
Or is direct children. You have a linear layout, followed by a text view, and a button. Okay, good. So this is the view hierarchy diagram for option C. This looks a little bit different than the other options, so let's compare them side by side. Here are all the options side by side. A and B have very similar view hierarchies, whereas option C has a different view hierarchy. This linear layout has only 4 children as opposed to 5 children in the other cases. Also, since A and B look very similar, we're going to have to look more closely at the XML to determine what the difference is between the two. In the next quiz, you'll look more closely at the XML for each option. Then I'll ask you to decide which option you think best accurately describes the layout that we want to build.
Great.
With the pen and paper still in your hand, go ahead and sketch out what each option would look like on a device. You can refer to the view hierarchy diagrams that we created in the last quiz if that helps you. Also, as you're reading through each XML file, make sure that you read each attribute carefully so you don't miss anything. When you're done with those 3 sketches, I want you to decide on which option gives you the desired layout that we want. These are radio buttons instead of checkboxes, so you can only pick one. Good luck!
Great. So, let's list that. So you guys can see what I see?
It's indented.
Ooh, you see coding. Okay, so we agreed that option A basically gives us exactly what we already have. But what would option B look like? So this is definitely where I need some markers. Just a moment, I'm gonna go see if there's ones over here. All right, I am going to ask some audience participation on this. Oh, I know, it's scary. So scary. But as the other light-haired person in the room, you were describing B. Why don't you draw what B would actually look like on the screen? So let's make sure this works. It works, and it's pink. That has to be pretty nice, right? So let's actually go through and take this off. All right, and you have a cap. Yep. Good. All right, so we're at the top of option B. What would option B look like?
Okay, is it going to draw what it is in the app? Check your right,
No, just put like numbers and names and things like that, just like how it would look on the screen.
Oh, how it would look on the screen. All right.
This is option B. This is option
Yeah, it
B.
is option B. Sorry. I know we don't have that.
Yeah, you do. It's right there.
Oh, cool.
Fancy.
Oh, yeah, it looks like this.
Right.
Then
Okay.
that it was, okay, then it was like.
You can see the
price or
screen.
something.
It has to go.
Oh, yeah. I think that's good.
Oh no, it overscrolled.
Okay, this quantity also all caps is that. Oh my goodness. Zero, do we have a black marker? That will actually wipe off of this board because there's a black
That's a
marker.
wet erase. No, I don't think we're worried about it being color contextual, everybody. We were more worried about just being able to draw it.
Okay. Make sure. Okay, that's a button. That's a text view. Is everybody that I think is in all caps actually in all caps?
Let's find out.
Everyone here is button in all caps.
Button is, okay, so this is an important thing to remember.
Uh-huh.
Button for material design and app compat that it is already doing for you
Oh, okay.
by default is all caps.
Oh, good.
That is, it's actually something you have to override if you're going to do some fancy things with basically fancy kind of spannables and things like that. But you guys are not going to get into that even if you take the advanced course because literally nobody uses it hardly, but really it should be used at all times. Because it's complicated, it's long, it's stupid.
Okay, I think that's what it looks like.
I think you're right.
You know?
Why do you think she's wrong?
Rice.
Oh, is it also one line? Oh yeah, you did.
Oh, that's
Oh,
true.
goodness.
They're messed up.
I don't think the whiteboard's one.
There's two whiteboards.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see.
Does anybody want the luxury chair? The ultra luxury chair?
Oh my goodness, this is gonna look so ugly.
That's the
Yes,
point,
you told
right?
me. You told me. I understand.
Okay, you don't have to fully draw it out at this point. You kind of you demonstrate.
That was silver. Oh, I want to see how dumb it looks.
I want to see how dumb it looks. This is the questions that we all ask
It's
ourselves.
gonna be the best app ever.
It's gonna be the best. Oh, remember, but these are like phone sizes. Remember, so what's gonna happen if you add the other text view? Is it gonna go off the edge of the phone?
Yeah, it's gonna do something like, I don't know. You can't really tell unless you run it, can you? Or
It's gonna end up coming over.
Oh, it comes over
here
here?
for some reason. But only if you have a phone that's like this size. If you made it really wide, it would go across.
okay, it's still horizontal.
No, it's still horizontal.
Are we at wrap content or match parent?
It's at patch parent. Oh no.
Does that okay? So what happens? If
No,
my
it's
stuff is way
each of
too
the
big?
pieces. Each of the pieces are wrap content, but match parent is the width.
Oh,
So it matches parent on the
Do they
height.
have, do they have decimal formatting?
No. That's actually something you can do in a Java util, but that's a big deal. So what's
Yeah, I saw that. It's in their instructor code. They have the formatting and currency.
actually remember it's the
Oh, it's
gonna be
still
on the side.
horizontal. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
And that's assuming that you have a phone that you're holding like this. So if you were to flip it, everything would all be in one line.
All right.
So if you had like a giant screen, yeah, it ends up like adding it to the bottom. And on some really terribly written, poorly ported versions of Android, it actually will run off the page. Thank you very much, Crackbone.
It looks just like HTML kind of display.
Yeah, sometimes it'll get really weird. Okay, now let's draw out. Okay, do I have a volunteer for option C? If we have no volunteers, I will pick a member of the audience. This is The Price is Right, but the price is kind of suck. You want to do it, Trevitt? Come on, man. You're in a room full of adults. Aren't you supposed to volunteer for like everything? Make us feel stupid? What does it look like? We have linear layout inside of linear layouts. Inside of all the layouts.
You have to like put all caps or finish for the lowercase. How do you know what to follow what the layout says, man?
Except for the color.
I mean, she did it. Come on. She's like almost twice as old as you. Like he's like.
We're more than
Yeah, I know. I'm just. God dang it, I'm trying to be like nice. Okay, come on. Forgot to give you there. And now you're starting to get towards the bottom. Right. You can do it. I believe in you. Feel it. You're close. You're almost there. Come on, man. Come on. You do it. You do it. You believe. Or the Jamaican mom select you. See it? Second. I'm done.
I'm done.
All right. Captain, my captain. Okay. Oh man, there's so many references. Jamaican bobsled team, captain, my captain. Come on.
Is he not being appropriately educated in school?
What?
Is he not being appropriately educated in school?
You know what? I'm thinking that they aren't showing movies that are like 25, 30 years
Have
old
you seen
anymore.
Remember the Titans of Miracle? Just kidding.
Okay. So these are pretty crazy, right? Like all of this can happen because you rearrange literally one or two things. And then you can get this crazy thing that will wrap around and look different. But hey, you know what? Sometimes if you had a small enough phone, it'll look like it was correct. And then you try it on a different phone, and you're like, what? And it's so broken, and you're like, how did that happen? I'll put the tiniest here. I'm terrible. You could program, dude. It's okay. You don't have to know how to spell. I'm terrible at it. I'm really bad. Genuinely horrible. And it's doctors and engineers don't need to know how to spell. Just know how to type. And also handwriting, not a thing. But do well in school in that because the grade still counts. Get an A in gym because it counts just as much as an A in English. So, okay. Now we have quantity that's right next to it, but then the other pieces are the same. All we did was include this in what should have just been this only linear layout, right?
So quantity
We
should
made
be
this.
outside of linear layout.
Yeah, it should be outside of linear, outside of that nested linear layout. Yeah. So very good. Good job. Yes, you did draw it correctly. And now we all feel quite stupid getting shown up by a 9-year-old, right? I mean, what am I doing with my life? So that's pretty cool, right? Okay, so now we're ready to draw. So, which of these gives the desired layout? I think we already covered that is A. That is the Canadian.
Hopefully not B nor C.
I have to switch the tabs that you see. I'm controlling what you see. This is a fun house, remember? Woohoo! Great job! You did a good job.
I'm going to draw out the different options for you. For option A, we have a vertical linear layout as the root view. I'm going to draw a big old rectangle. Now keep in mind that as I add views to it, it needs to be added in a vertical column. The first child is a text read that says quantity, and it's in all caps because it's a header. So let me draw that in. Next, we have a horizontal linear layout. I'm going to draw it over here and add children horizontally. The first child of this linear layout is a minus button. So I'm going to draw that here. The second child of this horizontal linear layout is a text view that has the text 2 in it. The third child is a plus button. So I'm going to add that here. All these children are added horizontally, and this whole horizontal linear layout is a child within this vertical linear layout. Next, we have a text view that says price, and it's in all caps. It's followed by another text view that says $10. And lastly, we have a button that says order. Nice, that actually looks like what we want. But we'll hold off on any judgments, and we'll keep looking at the other options and sketch them out first. For option B, remember that the view hierarchy diagram was very similar to option A. By looking at the XML more closely, let's see if it actually looks the same on the device. We're going to start with a horizontal linear layout as a root view. As I add children, I'm going to have to add them horizontally here. The first child is a text view that is the quantity header. So let me draw that in. Next, we have a nested linear layout with orientation vertical. I'm going to draw that right here so it comes horizontally after the quantity text view. And as I add children to this linear layout, I'm going to add them vertically as in a vertical column. The first child is the minus button. So let me draw that. Below that, we have a text view that says 2. And below that, we have a plus button. That finishes this nested linear layout. We also have a price text view, the $10, and also an order button. Taking a step back, this doesn't quite look like what we want. So I'm going to take a wild guess and say option B is not the correct answer. Let's move on to option C. Option C had a very different view hierarchy in that it only had 4 children under the root parent linear layout. This parent view is a vertical linear layout. That means the children will be added vertically one after the other. The first child is a horizontal linear layout. That means I have to add the children horizontally one after the other. The first child is a text view that says quantity. Then I have a minus button, the text that says 2, and a plus button. That also looks funny, but we'll keep going. After this plus button is the closing tag of the linear layout. So after that, these children are part of the vertical linear layout. So this price text view needs to go vertically underneath this horizontal linear layout. The price text view and the order button are also part of the vertical linear layout, so they need to go underneath the price. And this is what the layout looks like. As you can see, this quantity text view has been made a child of this horizontal linear layout. So the quantity picker is showing up here, but also the quantity header. This difference in layout is all because we moved the text view to have a different parent. In the screenshot of the desired layout, we have the quantity header on top of the quantity picker, not beside each other. So we need to move this quantity text view to be a child of this vertical linear layout and not a child of this horizontal linear layout. Here are the sketches side by side. Clearly, option B is not what we want. And option C is correct, except for the fact that quantity and the quantity picker are in the wrong spots. They should be on top of each other. That leaves option A, which does actually build the desired layout.
Right.
Whew, that was a tough concept, but you handled it really well. This unlocks the ability to build some really awesome layouts in Android, because almost all screens contain some type of nested layouts, which Kirill was actually mentioning earlier in the Google Play app. After all of that prep work, now we're ready to go back into Android Studio Land to implement the changes for an improved quantity picker. In case you're wondering, Catherine, what if I'm trying to build a layout and I don't have 3 options of XML layouts magically appear before me that I have to choose from? Well, that's a fair question. So far, we've practiced being able to read XML and draw a view hierarchy diagram. We've also practiced reading XML layouts and drawing a sketch of what the screen would look like. But now it's time to practice seeing a design of what we want to build and being able to write the XML from it. I do realize that I gave you the solution XML in the previous quiz. I was somewhat paying attention, but I don't want you to look at that solution. I want you to practice the skill of seeing a screenshot or a mock of what you want to build and then being able to write the XML for it. Normally, we would start with a desired screenshot of what we want to build. You could get this from a designer that's working on your team who's designing the app for you. Or if you're working without a designer, you could also sketch this out on your own. Then you would imagine how to break this down into views and view groups. You can mark it up and then try to draw out the view hierarchy diagram for the relationship between the children and the parent views. After you finish this diagram, you can start writing out the skeleton for what the XML layout code would look like. I'll leave these parts as an exercise for you. You'll make your changes in the activity main XML layout file. Aside from writing your XML here and seeing a preview of it, you can also click on the design pane here. This is the design tab as opposed to the text tab. The design pane allows you to drag and drop views onto the device. You can also see the component tree in the top right corner here. This is essentially a tree of all the views in your hierarchy. Currently, we have vertical linear layout as the parent view and all these children views inside of it. If you had nested view groups, they would also show up here. Now go ahead and build this layout in Android Studio. After you've selected and positioned the views, remember to style them so it looks like this. The style of the views is mostly the same, except note that there's 8 divs of space in between the minus button and the 2, and in between the 2 and the plus button. As mentioned earlier, avoid looking at the code and try implementing it yourself. When you're done, check this box to continue.
Stacy, was there are a few people who were just joining in, so they don't have the first part of Just Java, but I worked in one of the other instructor notes to make the finished version of Just Java up to this point.
Excuse me.
So there's
Right.
some people here who haven't even created the Just Java project.
Right. I don't think there is. I can probably make one for you, and then, but we'll be looking at what the code is, because I've already gone through the whole materials. They actually don't just start immediately adding stuff. We can actually look at what's there. So let's do this. Style it in Android Studio, everybody. So let's see Studio be up. And let's actually put this in there. So remember, you also have the ability to kind of drag and drop components. I can see that you already worked ahead a little bit. Yours kind of fancy. All right. Is that? It's also true. Okay. But at least the components that are off almost. I know you're going for fancy too. I understand. Sometimes you don't want a cappuccino. Sometimes you don't want a latte. Sometimes you just want a basic black coffee. So this is what I'm asking for, everybody.
Sometimes you just want a big cup of water and do the next.
And you know what? Sometimes you're just happy that the gas station actually has coffee, regardless of what hour they actually made it. Sometimes you're just like, you know what? This is the middle of nowhere. I need something. Give me that something, everybody. Give me that something. This is basics. You can do it. Once. I can sing badly on purpose. Does everybody want to do that? Kind of. Kind of, like what I just did.
Yeah, it's maybe a singing lesson as well, artist. It's harder to sing badly on purpose than it is to sing badly, like, not on purpose. You know what I mean? And it's harder to sing badly on purpose than it is to sing correctly.
I don't know. I think, and I think, oh, it's tone down is the thing. So, you know, for some people, that's just the way that they live. I always wonder about people who speak in a tone deaf kind of way, if they can even appreciate music. Like, if they recognize how things go together. I don't know. That's the thing. You know what? I propose that should probably be a study that somebody does and get their PhD on, because it seems like it would be valuable. All right, let's see. Let's do some Cody bits. What's going on?
I was trying to download
What'd you do?
I was trying to download the AVD Android virtual device thing, but like it crashed and it restarted. Slow.
Because you Hackintoshed?
No.
No, it's a VM. I understand. Is it the same VM between you and your girl?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm like going, well, could you explain why it's crashing? All right. Man after my own heart. MSI. Okay. Is that? Let me see. It looks pretty good. Is that 8 dp between the two? Doesn't look like it. They were so nice. They gave you the numbers and everything. I didn't give you the numbers. They did. They were super nice about it. All right. Are you slacking right now? No. Yeah, you are. You are. You are, Otto. I can tell. I know slacking anything. Are you able to get it? Oh, okay. Cool. How you doing over here, guys? You want to make them not as wide? It's not. Yeah, it's not so wide. Why is yours wide? Did you just put regular button with wrap content? And you, I see what it is. You put padding on the button. You don't need to pad the button. So you need to pad the button with 8 dp of padding. Oh, you,
Or
I used your text.
Right.
Okay, that's right. Did you put weights on everything? Did you put, okay, so you put a padding, did you put a padding on the text view? Okay, that's great. And you have rep content on everything. What about your linear layout? What does it say at the top? Match parent. Probably don't need to match parent on width. Probably do rep content. Because it doesn't have to do why is that? Okay, so here's something cool you can do. Go to design. Okay, so grab the button. Start adjusting the button. See what happens. Oh, also, you might want to pick a device. Pick something like the Nexus 5. Nexus 5. Right. That was still weird. Okay, bring it in. Weird. Okay. Huh, still works. You can define the height and define the width and the height. I don't know why it's doing linear.
I don't mind getting square.
Is it tip to be square?
Because it's the match of the screen.
Because it's tip to be square. To be square. It's Sesame Street, man. Yeah, it is. It's Sesame Street. It's straight up Sesame Street.
There's a book that says he's going to go visit his kid.
No, they had an actual band singing. That's the difference. Like an actual band you probably heard of or something, I think. I think it was. What? Yeah. It's hip. Yeah, it's hip. That is exactly right. Yep, but I think they get it from Sesame Street. Because it talks about a triangle and this and that.
That would be what you
Oh, okay. See, I'm used to the Sesame Street version.
I graduated. This was.
Okay. I'm almost 30, everybody. What? You look really good for 50. Congratulations. I hope to look not Haggerty at like 45, so I'm pretty sure I'm gonna. I don't know. But all the vices in life are what make you look terrible. But then also you don't have any of the vices in your life and you look better, but then you didn't have, I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Depends on the vice.
It depends on the vice, it really does. It really does depend on the vice. Alright. Is everybody able? Is everybody able? Okay, cool, we can move on. And we get to click the little thing that says that we're done. Everybody excited to be done with this part? Yay. Submit the answer of we're done.
First, I look at the screenshot and decide that since the views are in rows, it looks like a vertical linear layout. The second child, though, is not a single view.
Okay,
In fact, that's a horizontal linear layout of 3 views. This is what the view height. Keep watching to find out.
We already did it.
So far we've built a quantity picker.
Right, and the next place to go in the app is the price.
Yes, the price is right. So the price is an integer so far, but we want to move beyond that and use strings.
You mean this type of string?
Oh, I mean like this type of string.
Oh.
So a string is just a sequence of characters.
So wait, how does this work with the price then?
So we're going to change the screen so that it says total and then $15. So it's not just a number, now it has some text with it as well.
Numbers and text.
Yeah, isn't that awesome? This is from the party that you may or may not have been invited to. Over the next few videos, we'll talk about using strings in our Just Java app. Specifically, we'll learn how to create and update string variables in the app. Then we'll change the app so that under the price header, it says total $15 or whatever the price is based on the quantity ordered. We'll also show the text thank you because we're excited about having any customers at all. You might be wondering, why don't we just put all of this text inside the XML layout? Well, we could, but the problem is that the quantity can change, and when we hit the order button, we want the price to be updated here. So this text needs to accurately reflect the price based on the quantity. By using a string variable, we can change the value of the text while the app is running, without having to hard-code it into the whole XML layout. Here are some examples from real apps that you may recognize. When you receive an incoming call, you see the person's name at the top of the screen. We can't put this name directly into the XML layout because it will change depending on who calls you, unless all your family and friends are called Britta Holt. The best thing to do is to store this name in a string variable. That way you can update it depending on who calls you. Then when we show this screen, we can just display the latest name that is stored in that variable. In the News and Weather app, we see a list of the top news stories. When we build the XML layout, we can't just specifically hard-code these specific news stories into the XML layout. As much as I love reading about the Winter Olympics, I do want to see other news articles as well. So we can store the information for each news story, like the article title, as a string variable, because that can change. For the next task, I'm going to provide you with some code, and I'm going to have you make those changes in your app. Then you'll run the app, and then observe what happens. I'll ask you some questions to see if you can try to figure out what's going on. The first change is to modify the submit order method. You can remove the code that's already in between the opening and closing braces, and then replace it with these 2 lines of code. Adding this code will give you an error, so I want you to also add the display message method, which we've provided in the instructor notes. In the instructor notes, you'll find this gist of code. Go ahead and select the whole thing, from the comment all the way to the last closing brace. You can treat this method like a black box. You don't have to worry about what's going on inside of the method. You just need to know that you want to add it to the main activity so that you can use it. Back in Android Studio, in the main activity Java file, I'm going to paste in this new method. I can paste it anywhere in the main activity, but I'm just going to put it right after the display price method. And I'm going to put it after the closing brace of the display price method. Notice that it's also inside of the closing brace of the main activity. The main activity has an opening brace right here, and and everything inside of it is contained in the main activity, and then we have a closing brace for the main activity here. Once we've added the display message method in, we can now modify the submit order method. I'm going to erase the code that we already have inside the submit order method. Then, according to the quiz image, I'm going to add the new code here. Intentionally, I'm not giving you too many details on what I just did. I want you to try it out in your version of the app, run it, and see what happens. After that, I want you to answer these questions. What happens when you click on the order button in the app now? If you take a look at this submit order code more closely, we actually created a string variable. Even though we haven't gone over the code for string variables, I want you to make your best guess as to what you think the variable name is and what you think the variable value is. When you're done, go ahead and continue.
Right. Oh no. Okay, sorry. So those of you who are catching up or just didn't get in on the last session, I've posted up a series of links online that provide the code that we are working on so that you can make your new project and then copy paste this code in, and you'll be totally up to speed to where we are. Okay? Does anybody need help with that?
That was last week.
Yeah, that was last week's code. So again, we're continuing on with projects that we're already going through. So if you're one of those people, please create a new project, put these pieces of code in for your existing activity and then the layout as well. So you'll be where we are right now. So what I'm going to send out now is that new display price method that is using the string. All right, so please insert that into your code. And I want to know what happens when you click the order button. Do you guys all click the Slack channel? Let's see what's going on. You still?
No, I asked that of it.
What?
Because what I love there, really 10 minutes.
Supposed to be an active participant. Active participant. Active participant. All right, so you guys added in the new code. So what happens if I click that order button now with that new code piece interlaced in there? So where we put the new display message method. So what happens? What happens if I hit that button? You don't even really need to look at the code, you can look at what that does. The display message. What happens? What?
Passing a message?
So, okay, so if we look at what's happening
Oh, I gotcha.
in submit order, I'm putting string, the price message free, and then display message, price message being free. So display message free. So that's what's happening, right? If I click that button, because what's that button hooked up to? It's hooked up to this. That submits the order, right? So as soon as I hit submit the order, it goes from a quantity of 0, 1, 2, 3, whatever you guys had to put in there, that original text input, And then it becomes free. Free coffee?
Yeah, I would love to.
Where are you gonna order free coffee? I can use some free coffee. Yeah. They have free coffee here, but I can't order it. No. That is the kicker. I usually keep one in my car though, so probably it's not far. I probably just eat coffee though anyway, so. All right. So for those questions A and B in number 2, was ist the answer to A?
Displays free.
Say things louder.
Oh, it displays free.
Displays free. Or in this case, free in the quantity field. All right. We created a string variable. Previously, we had an integer variable. What is the name of that string variable? And if you say free, you're wrong.
Price message.
Price message, okay. What's its value?
Free.
Price message? Price message equals price message?
Free.
Free, okay. Woohoo!
At this point, you should have modified the submit order method and also added the display message method within the main activity. Then you can hit run to see it on your device. First, I'm going to change the quantity, and then I'm going to hit the order button. Now the app says free for price. That answers the first question. When the order button is clicked, then the price text field now says free. For the second question, we talked about creating a string variable in this submit order method. Even though we haven't seen code for a string variable before, I asked you to guess what you think the variable name and value would be. The answer is that the variable name is price message and the value is free. To arrive at these answers, let's look more closely at how we create string variables.
All right, we're moving on.
Earlier in the lesson, we learned about how to declare or create an integer variable. We're going to follow the same format to create a variable, but this time the variable holds text because it's a string. This is the code we added to our app. This creates a new string variable called price message, and the value that it holds is the text free. It follows a specific format according to the syntax rules of Java. First, we specify the data type. In this case, it's a string. Remember that a string is just a sequence of characters. Then it's followed by the variable name, which is price message in this case. Then it's followed by an equal sign, initial value, and a semicolon to indicate the end of the statement. Saying that the data type is a string limits what type of information can go inside this variable. Only one string can be stored in it at a time. A string can be made up of letters, numbers, or symbols. You may recall that a variable name is the name that we give this variable, so we can refer to it later to get the value out or to update the value. It's like giving the variable a name tag. When you're picking a variable name, it's important to choose something that's descriptive, that describes the type of information it will be holding. I could call this variable name Catherine, but it really does not reflect the information inside of it. It makes my code harder to read as well because no one knows why there's a string variable called Catherine. On the other hand, a variable name like price message is a little more helpful because you know there's a message inside of it that's related to the price probably. We looked at this earlier, but there are naming conventions for variable names. If you forget what those are, you can always look them up. I just search for variable name Java in Google search. I can scroll down here to where it talks about naming. It says that variable names are case sensitive, and you usually start with a lowercase letter, and then you use camel case if there's multiple words. Then I have the assignment operator, or the equal sign here. This operator is in charge of assigning a value to a variable. So you take this value on the right-hand side, and you assign it into the variable price message. We specify the initial value of this string to be some text in double quotes. This is called a string literal because a literal has a fixed value. We first heard about literals when we were learning about integer variables. A fixed value like 2 or 5 or 10 are all integer literal values because they don't change, as opposed to a variable which does change. Going back to our box analogy, the value free would go inside this variable. And last but not least, we also have a semicolon at the end of the statement. Now that we understand this line of code a little better, go ahead and try to experiment with different values. You can try to change the initial value here or change the variable name. For example, you can use a short string like free or change it to be a longer string. You could make it a completely empty string as well, which leaves no characters in between the two quote signs. You could add a space, or you could add numbers as well, or you could add symbols. When you're creating your string literal, just be careful that there are certain characters that you need to deal with specially. For example, if you use the quote sign in your string, then you're going to run into an error that says can't resolve symbol $, and a semicolon is expected. This is because the compiler doesn't know that the whole string is supposed to be this whole thing. To solve this problem, let's do a Google search. You can Google search for Java escape characters. And scroll down to a section called escape sequences. In Java, certain characters mean special things. The start and end quote symbols are to denote a string in Java. But if you want to actually put a quote inside your string, you'll need to use an escape sequence. An escape sequence is a character preceded by a backslash. And the Java compiler will interpret it in a special way. If we use a backslash with a double quote, that indicates that we actually want to use the quote symbol, not the quote that means it's a text string. Let me show you what I mean.
It's all on.
In Andrew's video, I can add a backslash before each quote mark that I actually want to appear in the text. Now the whole initial value of this variable will be this whole string because it's marked off by the start and end quote. And inside that text string, I also want to use quotes, but I mark those by using a backslash in front of each quote. If I run on my device, I see the quotes around $1, but I don't see the quotes around the full thing, which is what we'd expect. Another useful escape sequence to know is this \n, which inserts a new line so that the text will continue on to the next line. You can try this one out in your code as well. Remember that the semicolon should always be at the end of the statement. Even though in English it's grammatically correct because the punctuation inside the quote, you want to put it on the outside of the quote. Anything in between here is part of the text string, and you need to put the semicolon on the outside for the Java compiler. You can also modify the variable name. If I change this to something like message, then this gives me an error here because it can't resolve the symbol price message. So I just need to copy it and put it down here as well. And this should run on your device. You can't change the data type though. It must be spelled string exactly like this. String is capitalized here because it's an object. We'll learn about objects in lesson 3, but for now just type string with a capital S. When we were working with integers earlier, we would declare integers with a lowercase I for int. It's lowercase because it's a primitive data type, where primitive means it's one of the basic Java data types. Experiment with different variable names and initial values until you're comfortable with string variables. Then I want you to tell me what's incorrect about each of these string declarations listed below. I want you to point out the error in each of these lines of code.
Okay. Let's see you guys experiment with what it can show. You could call it freeness. You could put a $sign in front of it. It's the quantity could be rainbows. And no one would be able to ever drink your coffee. So, what is wrong?
No capital S.
Capital S? You can have capitals. Why can't you have capitals? Why wouldn't you be able to have
In
capitals?
this case,
For
we're not just capital.
non-primitive. For non-primitive.
Because of that one little quotation.
It should be.
String with a capital S.
Yeah, Java will not be happy if that's true.
Yeah, so it should be. That's one thing, right?
C# will make it do it.
Equals 2 days specials, right? What else is wrong with it? What's another problem here?
No escape before the single quote.
Yeah.
You mean that? Is that what you're looking for?
No,
Yeah.
means it shouldn't hurt it.
No, it does. It hurts a
In
lot.
Android Studio?
It hates, yeah, even a single apostrophe requires.
I don't think so.
Yes, it does. Try it.
Does it show an error when you run it?
What?
Does it show an error when you run it?
It tells you that it's looking for an escape character. Please replace.
When I ran it,
Is that an Android Studio thing, or is that like?
So if you put today's apostrophe S specials, it's gonna ask for that. Especially if you abstract the string. So the reason behind it is that you could possibly trying to define a character inside of a string, right? So it considers that to be like a thing unless you put a slash. Okay. So,
No type declaration.
right. So let's see. What's incorrect about this one?
No type declaration.
Type declaration of,
Strings.
okay. Okay.
Strong string.
All right, so what does this have with it?
No window quote.
Unquote. So I'm gonna just, oh gosh, I can't copy paste. So literally missing end quotation. And then what's wrong with this one? Ring. Oh, I don't know what name is. Name, it's a double declaration, so this should be needs drink underscore name. Name is non-contiguous.
Shouldn't be calipers.
You can go either way, but yes, it should be camel case. But if we were going to keep it identical,
I asked you to determine the bug in each of these lines of code. Hopefully you were able to do it by just looking at that line. For this loop, I'm going to add lines of code into Android Studio so that you can see what error Android Studio would give us, and we're going to fix it as well, so that they're honest. I temporarily commented out this line of code using the // so that it doesn't show that there's a red error every time. We'll switch back to the code we had before, but I just wanted a place where I could add these test strings. If I type in string title equals today's specials, I get an error. It says that it can't resolve a single string. That's because Java doesn't recognize the type string with lowercase s. It needs to have the capital S. Now it recognizes that it's the type and
wait a second.
there's no errors. There's an error on the second line, but I'm going to comment it out with a // That way the computer won't try to compile that line. Technically, the string isn't going to our app, so we don't need it to work with the rest of our code. If I type in special of the day equals cafe latte, I also get an error. It says cannot resolve symbol special of the day. That's because this variable was not created earlier. This is the first time we're using it to specify the data type in front of it. So we'll say string special of the day is cafe latte. And that fixes the problem. Now I typed in string nutrition info equals 500 calories or less. String here, I get the line that
I'm going to do something real fast.
right.
To stop casting the test.
Here, but I forgot the quote, so we need to add that. And that fixes the problem. The last one is string drink name equals iced coffee. The word name is highlighted in red, and I get an error saying it cannot resolve a single name. The reason is because a variable name should be in camel case with no spaces. So I need to get rid of the space here, and if there's two words, we can just capitalize the beginning of the second word. And that fixes the error. For the name of the drink, you might want to capitalize the I or the C here, but it's really up to you. Anything you put in a double quotes is your choice, and the Java compiler won't complain about those types of errors. Great, you really mastered how to create strings in Java now.
Okay, cool. We know how to handle strings. Everybody knows.
When dealing with
Yes.
strings in Java, an important concept to understand.
I tried to do the apostrophe out of a string and I wrote the acronym.
It didn't yell at you?
I put it in a backslash because
You didn't put the backslash and it didn't yell at you?
yeah, it's in the apostrophe. What?
I get like great. This is like a common problem that I have, and then
You have to do that in strings.xml.
That's probably yes. Because okay, so this is another thing. When you get bigger into code, you never, ever, ever, pretty much ever keep your strings in the activity. You abstract your strings. There's reasons for this. They go into this special file called a strings.xml file, where you keep all your strings. Or you can make it a different strings.xml. You can do whatever. But basically, think about if you made a big app, and you have to find something that says, made by Toby. Toby gets fired. Time to change that name. Let's say that you have a code base that has hundreds of classes in it. Hundreds. How easy is it going to be to find where Toby's name is written and be able to contextually understand where to change that? And what if Toby's name is used and copied and pasted across the entire app? Do you literally want to go in at every single place where Toby could have put his name and hand rewrite somebody else's name? And then again, if somebody else leaves the team, or you boot them out, or you hate them, or whatever, no. What you would do is you'd abstract them. Abstract them to another random XML that we call strings XML. You can call it Phantom Rainbows XML. It will still work. Although strings XML is the standard. Nobody really deviates from that. It can end up being a few thousand lines of strings, but that's very uncommon for it to get super large. Yes? It is super helpful if you want to use multiple languages, because when I write that one string, guess what I can't do? Yeah, I can't use any of this. I can't use any of the translations, right? It literally just stays the same. Yes. So there's awesome, like, also auto translation tools. Like you can run, you can run your strings XML file through an auto translation tool, and it will generate like auto translation strings for you in multiple languages. Yep. So it's pretty cool that you can actually do that, because then I can know. So case in point. Home Depot, si habla español. We have a lot of people that speak Spanish. Probably a good idea for us to be able to support Spanish, right? Especially because we also sell in Mexico. We also sell in Canada, which we do shit stuff. I'm going to French. Probably not enough. Maybe not. It's a lot of work to do all the translations, but. Well, because, you have to make sure to say something. Like, if it's just you, and it says, like, your mom is fat, that might be okay. We might be talking about, like, Big Mama's cook pan, not your mom is fat cook pan. So that isn't, see how that could be awkward, right? What?
Are you in Quebec, Canada?
I have no idea. I'm assuming so because we have a headquarters in Montreal.
French.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I know. But our app doesn't reach past, doesn't reach into Canada. We've got it reaching lots. Canadians, they got their own set of problems. All right. One of which is they don't got no Home Depot app. All right. I know it's recorded, but. So
Let's get back to being on topic.
So strings being abstracted helps you in being able to repeat uses without having to do redeclarations, as well as be able to like common things. Like, okay, I bring this up a lot. Home Depot app. I know, I'm selling you on it every day. How many places do you think we have add to cart? A lot of places, right? Like when you search for something, every different kind of view has what? Add to cart. If you go and you look at a product page, there's going to be other products listed underneath them in little spinny carousel things, right? Guess what each of those has? Add to cart. What if we wanted to change add to cart in our application to shopping bag or go to cart or any of these things? Can you imagine tracking down every single place that it says add to cart? Do you know how many points I'd have to take for that? I'd have to have people who work in Agile. That would be like a 3-point story, right? Because I'd have to do, thankfully I know how to use rep and set, but if you're not, or find and set, if you're not terminal literate, that means you gotta go look for it and then copy paste. But the reason why I have to take 3 points is because I need a couple points, right? So that's a lot of places. But that's gonna take a day of my time for what is essentially data entry, when I could have just put that in one little spot, one little variable in that XML file, and change it across the entire app like that. So there's reasons to do that. All right, let's keep going. Magic apps. Apps are magic.
Again, it's string concatenation. Now that's a really big word, but it just means we're joining character strings together end to end. If this is a string and this is a string, you can combine them by concatenating them to make an even longer string. To concatenate these strings together, we use the plus operator. This is the same addition symbol that we know from math. Just like you can add numbers together, you can concatenate strings together. Let's look at an example. Say I have 3 different strings. One string literal says I need, another string literal says 2 cups of coffee, and another string literal says on a Monday. You can use the plus symbol to concatenate all of these strings together. A ginormous that says I need 2 cups of coffee on Monday. Whenever I see something like this, I imagine the plus symbols are gone, and I imagine the quotes are gone, and I just imagine literally squishing all of these things together. And when I say squished, we're really squishing them together. There's even no extra space in between this string and this string. If you want to add a space here, you would have to explicitly add a space in this string literal at the end of it, or you add a space at the beginning of this string literal. Same with coffee on Monday. I want a space here, so I have to either add it at the end of this string or the beginning of this string. I added a space here and a space here. So when I concatenate all of this together, I squish them together, and the sentence comes out correct like this. There's a space here and a space here. Adding spaces in place is a little bit tricky because you have the quotation marks everywhere and the plus symbols, and there's even spaces around the plus symbol. But these spaces around the plus symbol don't contribute to the overall display string. The space must be inside the double quotes. Here's an example of string concatenation in our app. I'm going to change the text so it says amount due plus $10. I'm concatenating this string literal with this string literal. When I run it on my device and then I hit the order button, then I see amount due $10. You can also concatenate like I have here. Before, the 10 was in quotes, so that was a string representation of the number 10. But here I just have 100 without quotes, so this is the integer value for 100. If If I concatenate a string with an integer, then it immediately turns this whole thing into a string. If I hit the order button, then I see $100 showing up on the screen. In a moment, I'll have you play around with string concatenation to try different values. You could get compile errors, so be careful of those. If I forget a closing quote, I could get an error. In a moment, I'll play around with string concatenation and try different values. According to Android code style guidelines, we should have a space before and after each operator, and this string concatenation operator counts as an operator. Now it's your turn to practice in your app. Experiment with combining different strings using the plus operator. You can also combine it with integer literal values as well. Once you feel comfortable with string concatenation, I want you to answer these questions.
Okay. Ooh, we got string concatenation. So, what does this look like? What's the value of this? Anybody want to tell me? If I type in order space, a number, and then colon, yes. Okay, what's right after it?
No space.
No space. And then what? 23. So this is unique, right? Because we can take a existing thing like a string and concatenate it with an integer, right? You can also probably do the same thing with certain character arrays and things like that. You can do it with float numbers. You can take a string and add a string together, but you can't add a string array to a string. But you can add a string to a string array. But there's all kinds of stuff. But for simple things, instead of us having to, say, rewrite 23 every single time as a string, put quotes around it, I wonder what we're going to do next. If we can take integers and add them to strings. Okay, so what's the next one? You were served by
Jack.
By Jack? Space Jack. Okay. Space Jack. Space Jack is he like Space Jam? Okay. And what's the next one? You are
No space.
no space.
No space.
2 cups away from a free drink. Ooh, that's a little weird, right? But they didn't put a space. Your answer for line 1 is incorrect. Oh, because I put a capital N. I'm typing. I told you, spelling and typing it.
Let's go over the answers to these quiz questions. Each of these lines of code creates a string variable, and I wanted to know what is the value that goes inside the string variable.
Whoa, what happened? What happened? Let's take this again. Stop gassing. Okay. Recast the lecture. Did it just turn off?
Well, I see something on the screen.
Okay, wait. Stop gassing? Oh, well, we tried something. What's it doing? What's it doing? Go back to the thing. What did it do?
It's all I've come about it.
It's back.
It's back. Okay, yeah. Thank you very much.
The value that gets stored in this variable is order number semicolon 23. Notice that there's no space after the semicolon because the end quote is right after the semicolon. Since this is a string literal concatenated with an integer literal, then the whole thing just turns into a string. For part B, the right-hand side of the equal sign evaluates to the string, you were served by Jack. There's a space here because there's a space right before we have the end quote. For part C, this string evaluates to, you are 2 cups away from a free drink. The number 2 is an integer literal value here because it's not in quotes. is just a plain number 2. Since we have an integer concatenated with a string, it just becomes a string. All these parts are combined together. So we pretend to squish them together, and that's why there's no spaces right here. Because there's no space after the R, and there's no space before the cups. So R2 cups is all combined with no spaces.
Okay.
In the last video, we saw how we can take string literals and combine them with integer literals using the concatenation operator. This expression evaluates to the string, I need 2 cups of coffee on Monday. The powerful thing about concatenating different parts of the text together is that we can swap out different parts if they need to change. For example, the number of cups of coffee might change. So instead of a literal value here, we can change it to be a variable. Now I've removed the 2 and replaced it with a quantity variable. So when we evaluate this expression, we'll always get the latest value of the quantity variable. If the variable is holding the value 2, then it'll print out something like, I need 2 cups of coffee on Monday. So these parts of the string stay constant and they don't change, whereas the quantity is free to change and we'll always get the latest value. I'm going to try it out in Android Studio. Since quantity happens to be a variable that we already have declared in the main activity, I can just use it directly in submit order method. I'm going to make up a string like total item count, and then add quantity, and then coffees. This isn't really related to price, but I just want to show you that you can concatenate strings with variables. Let's run this to see what it looks like. If I change the quantity and then hit the 1, then it shows total item count 3 coffees. I forgot to add the space right after the 3 but before coffees, so we should go and add that in. I'm going to add a space here so that it appears right after the quantity. Notice that quantity here is not in double quotes. If it was, then it would literally show quantity on the screen. But we want the value of this variable, so we don't put it in quotes. Now that it has an extra space here, let's try to run it and make sure it's correct. Now when I change the quantity to 3 and hit the order button, it says total item count 3 coffees. It correctly has a space before and after the quantity value. Taking a step back, when you look at this line of code, it can be a little overwhelming because there's quotation marks everywhere, and plus signs, and spaces in weird places. Just imagine that the plus signs disappear and everything in the quotes gets squished together and that the quantity variable gets replaced with an actual value. Because it's not that easy to read, it's common to have mistakes here. You might miss an opening or closing quotation or put the plus in the wrong place or accidentally put a variable in quotes. Just read through your code carefully to make sure it's doing what you expect. You can also do math expressions. You can have quantity times 5 in parentheses, and this will turn into a single integer value, and that will get concatenated to price. A string plus an integer turns into a string, and that gets stored in the variable price message, and that gets displayed on the screen. Run this on my device, it shows up as price 15. If you want the $sign or the currency symbol to show up, you need to make it part of the string literal, like this. The integer only holds the number part, not the currency symbol. If I run this on my device and then hit the order button, now I see the currency symbol. After showing you, go ahead and modify the submit order method just to display different messages on the screen. First, try to display amount due $10 on the screen when you hit the order button. Once you get that working, then change it to let it display this string when you hit the order button. Repeat the same for each of these different strings. You should only see one of these strings on the screen at one time. Remember to concatenate the string with quantity I decided it's accurate. So if I change to quantity of 5 cups of coffee, then the amount due should be $25.
Okay. So how far are we? We're pretty good. Okay. So let's see if you can make, if I can see you do one of each of these, like one of these, not every single one, on your screen. I will say that you did all of them. And there's reasons. So what she said right here at the bottom, use variables so the quantity and price are accurate. So you want to have price be a thing, and you want to have quantity be a thing, right? You also want to add those correctly. So let's see you put together one of these examples. They're not all the same. Let me see. Yes, sir. And I can see that you did it. See it. See it, mamas. Sir? You're getting it, okay. Who's got something to show me? Who's got something to show me? Tell me that you got something to show me. Are you progressing?
Yeah.
Yeah. I see it in the design. So the thing is when you go to that XML layout, it does not show you what you put in variables. So remember that Android Studio has gotten really, really good compared to where it was. And you can draw things, you can put things around, but there is not a good pre-render of what you put in variables. So it doesn't have an actionable emulator unless you run it on the emulator. Let me see. Don't be like depressed or anything. Look at it.
Yeah, but
Oh, so you probably don't have Java 8 installed or set as the right thing.
Right.
So here's I'm kind of see it. Okay, so to alleviate that problem, don't select 24. Oh God, you didn't do anything else. So why don't you install also a version that isn't Android 24 on your API? So go to the Android SDK. Okay, so do launch data load, because we don't want it to take up all your spaces. Okay, why don't you get the SDK platform for like SDK, not go down a little bit. Okay, no. Yes, but yeah, you're going too far. All right, we're going to target a 6.0 device, so why don't you click that? Let's do a drop down. You don't need every emulator.
Oh yeah.
You don't need Android TV still.
That's
You just need SDK platform. Yeah, just do SDK platform. You'll probably want to get the, if you have a Mac, probably going to want to get the x86. x86 64. And then those two, and what?
I'm thinking that I may be running it.
The SDK platform, and then x86. Alright, so you don't have any build tools. So update available, yeah, we go. Okay, install 5 packages. Accept license. Because I'm guessing this is a work laptop. You have to.
No, this is
Oh, it isn't? Okay. Well, what's this one? Okay. Woo! You're doing things.
Yeah.
Okay, so your rendering problem is because you probably don't have Java 8.
I installed it, but
It's not your declared runtime.
right, I didn't know how to say
It's terminal stuff, and you can look it up quite easily. To change your runtime. So yes, you can select your JDK, JRE runtimes.
Thanks.
Woohoo! Yes, make noise. Okay. Show me your things. I say things because just show me your thing is a bad thing to do. Okay. Show me your things does things. Congratulations. So, did you install Java? The JDK? Are you sure? It should be in here somewhere. Okay. Don't know where you put it.
If she clicks on messages,
Yeah, but it's not. Did you go to download JDK 7? So if I type in JDK 7 here. Okay, sorry. Hey, if you're a girl, you know exactly how awful that can be. I've had to leave work early. I'm please. Yeah, I don't think Walmart carries extra large in terms of that. So.
Are we still talking about installing Java?
No, we're not. Okay. I have to remember to keep it nice because we have a 9-year-old. So.
Does the better recall Java having gender bias?
Hey, you never know. So if this pops in, I gotta see that it's the second one of itself. See what popped in. Doesn't look like it. So when this goes, open it, install it, and then when you click that thing, that's where to put stuff, it will automatically pick up the right location. Okay. I like your perfume too. It smells quite nice.
Is your perfume?
Yeah.
Wait, what? Is it your perfume that I'm smelling?
Yeah.
Hey, man. You like flowers, that's the thing. You could be surrounded by flowers all day.
No, it isn't.
Or maybe you were that little bit of musk. That little bit of musk with flowers. It's okay, we keep it lighthearted here, okay? Nothing inappropriate said, just borderline. Borders exist. All right, we're gonna say everybody is number one best. Okay. Woo! Great job. Great job, everybody.
First, I'm going to change the app so when you hit the order button, it's going to show amount up to 10
All right,
or
we're
whatever the
gonna
price is.
skip this. Thank you very much for your lovely words.
Now the coding task of this lesson. Just like you can change the value of an integer variable after you've created it, you can also change the value of a string variable. You can update it to a completely new value. In our Just Java app, say we wanted to display a special drink of the day. Then we could use a string variable to store the name of that drink. Here we declare a string variable called drink of the day, and we initially set it to the value latte. With our box analogy, this is what it would look like. We have the latte value stored inside this variable. On another line of code, we can say drink of the day equals a new string value. Now the word espresso is stored in this string. We don't need to specify the data type string again, because it was already declared as a string up here. On the next line of code, if we say drink of the day equals green tea, then we store green tea into variable now. Here's another example where we might want to display the store hours within our app. We can create a string variable to store the text that should be displayed on the screen. The initial value is open today from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. On a different day, we can update the string variable to say open day from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. because we want to leave early to go to the beach. Or on another day, we can update the store hours to say close today because we don't work on Sundays. If our app had a running list of all the drinks that the user wanted, then we could create a string variable called drinks ordered. We could start it off with one drink, like one mocha. In the variable, we would store the text one mocha. And then if the user wants another drink, then we can just concatenate the new drink onto the existing drinks ordered. This gets stored inside the variable drinks ordered like this. If I want to add another drink, I can just concatenate that onto the existing string drinks ordered. This expression evaluates to one long string that says one mocha, one cappuccino, one macchiato. All of that gets stored into this variable, like this. It might look a little funny to have a comma and a space at the beginning of this string, but that just makes the list look nice with commas in between each item. The reason why I didn't put a comma at the end of cappuccino is because I can't be sure if there's going to be another drink coming after that or not. If there's only 2 drinks, then it will say one mocha, comma, one cappuccino, and that looks fine as is. If there's another drink coming, like a macchiato, then I can just add a comma because I know another drink is coming. Go ahead and try this out in Android Studio. Add another line of code that updates the string variable to a new value, or you can update it to the current value plus some more stuff. Once you're comfortable with knowing how to update string variables in Android Studio, then go ahead and implement this final behavior in the app for lesson 2. When you change the quantity and hit the order button, it should say total and the price, and then thank you. Technically, you don't need to update the string variable in order to build out this functionality. However, I'd still like you to do so if you can. In the next lesson, you're going to need to update string variables more often, specifically because there's going to be more fields in this order form, and we're going to need to build up the order summary. When you're done, check these boxes to continue. This is the last coding task of the lesson, so good luck.
Ooh, last coding task. Guys, that means we're all at the end. And then the rest of what you have is basically watching videos. So this time I really want to see that we make sure that we understand everything that we just went through. By showing me. You can experiment with the string variable and then make it add things together, put numbers and multipliers so that you can multiply and put a number and have it show the total and then tell me thank you. I really like the idea that the app would thank me for me spending money in it. I feel like there's a little person inside my phone sometimes. Yeah. A little extra special someone. I have a very personal connection to my phone. Not really. I have a very personal connection to the spirit that I think inhabits whatever phone I end up buying, which is really just my Google account. Or
is it like when you get a wand in Harry Potter?
Oh.
That would be fun.
No, because I'm like going, these things are disposable. I like. If wands were toilet paper, that's pretty much how I feel. They get used for a year. At least for me, I always have to buy whatever the latest, greatest. They get used for a year. Then they go into the test pile for unless. So me and my husband have to buy the same phone at the same time. We only really need one for test.
Yeah.
The one lucky family member gets the phone, whichever is least that is the most perfect. So, and then also like sometimes companies would send me, sometimes it's my husband, like free phones, tablets, that kind of stuff. Actually, to a certain point, they just send you things. It's weird. It is cool. I agree. Get free hotel stays, flights. You don't have to buy conference tickets, except to write a thing. I'm like going, conference tickets are like $1,500. So meant to speak at a conference? and they cover your airfare and your hotel costs, like you just saved $2,500. Like, and you get to go do something. And it didn't cost you anything but like a few weeks of after work time.
And you become pretty much past vacation days.
Yeah, exactly. Especially because it's not costing them anything, right? They're like, oh, well, it makes us look good for what your name will be. We'll go with that. We'll go with that. So, how's everybody going? You have a question? Manas has a question.
Yeah. Okay.
You're very. Your name keeps reminding me of Manos Hands of Fate. It's voted the worst movie of all time, but your name sounds very similar. So I just, it's a really, don't watch it until you're old enough. It's awful. It's really bad. You're not awful. You're very good, but I'm just saying.
So I
Yes.
have this stuff, and I added the quantity and stuff, so it actually changes, right?
Yes.
Instead of an order button, I have a turn on button.
Uh-huh.
So that works.
It takes you to another
It takes it to another page.
blank activity, yes.
But for when I click order to that coffee, it supposedly goes to, oh, this one actually swiped.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wait, you said everything was broken. How is everything broken?
Wait, so like now if I go to like, now it doesn't work. Now it just goes to the same page again.
Well, I have to understand what you're doing to the, are you reloading new variables into the spinners and then reloading the variable that's in quantity?
Everything's the same, it's just that I literally just copy and paste this.
Yeah, but is the activity different? Oh, wow, you eliminated one. Dude, I'm gonna actually have to like look at how you've illustrated your code. Sometimes what you can have is that it didn't inflate the right layout, or what you can also have is unactivated. The other problem that you could have is that all your variables are the same, but the old activity is still active, and then it's actually taking over resources from the previous. It doesn't mean this goes into on pause, doesn't mean that it closes everything out. So you should rename some stuff in the XML so that, because you could have overlapping activities, because you name things the same.
Oh, yeah.
Change all the names.
Try
Yeah, just change the names to protect the innocent. The innocent being your mind. Okay. Yes. Definitely not. Okay. You hit the order button. What? Your total is $0. Wait, what happens if I add more? It does things! Way to go. Come on. Okay, if you want it to be quiet, this one. Okay.
That's where you go.
I can hear this one. It does. I have no shame, so it's okay. Sir, show me what you got. Show me what you got. All right, I'm gonna hit buttons. I'm gonna make sure things happen. Oh, snap. Crackle and pop. Oh no, oh no, have you done it? Have you done it? Okay, let's see. I think. Don't sound so depressed about it. You did, and you added a little emoji.
I did it. I smiled at the person.
You did, you winky face. That's what you did. You did like a, not even to the side winky face, like you did a proper little mini ASCII winky face. All right. You two. You made the things. Show me that you've made the things.
Yeah.
Okay, the dad has made the things. All right, I'm gonna come back to you. In the eyes. You can't say it like that. Come on. I'm not scared. I'm not scared at all. It's okay. It's okay. It's lighthearted fun.
Okay, yeah.
Your dad was between us. Do you think your dad let me this kid scare you?
It was funny. If I were his dad, I would.
His dad's like their dad. I don't know what that happened. You're also not possibly ever going to be his dad. First off, you're not his dad. Well, I mean, you could be later, but I mean, it would be a very convoluted situation for that to happen. So,
I guess I'm technically old enough to be his mother, but I'm not technically old enough to be his mother.
Yeah, it's fine. I did that one.
you're 9.
Already.
Oh, I got married right
I think I
out of
read something
high school. That would have been. Oh,
Oh,
my
yeah,
God.
no, me too, actually, yeah, I mean, that's 17.
I'm 29. I'm going to be 30 in
I
like a
was,
few
I
months.
was from
So.
the part of town where, like, I was from part of the state where everybody was.
Are you from like Iowa? What?
No, I'm from Lubbock. Just out in the boondocks to the west.
Oh, okay. Lubbock's sophisticated enough to have not a lot of teen pregnancies.
No, they're number 1 in the country.
No, I thought that the
They
Mission,
were-
Mission,
they were like-
Texas.
They were like 10 years ago. When I moved there, they were number 1 in the country.
Yeah, no, I think Mission, Texas takes the
They
cake.
got their
My-
they were dethroned.
Yeah, because my uncle is a prosecutor for the state of Texas in Mission, Texas.
Oh, God.
Yeah, imagine being a prosecutor on a quarter job. That's what's funny is he doesn't own a single pair of jeans or a single pair of shorts. Yeah, he's married to a lovely Mexican woman. Does not eat Mexican food.
Oh,
What? You live in Texas. You only eat pizza, pretzels, beer, and steak. And then
this is steak.
I know, but like no Tex-Mex, no Mexican food. He goes to their house where they're making fajitas and everything fresh, and brings his own steak. Toss this on the grill. Like what? Oh, you live in 115-degree heat and know nothing but thick jeans. Like, I guess he is more Texas than anybody, right? It's that opposite. Yes, I love him. I love my uncle, but he's so funny. He doesn't eat like anything that like has nutrients. All right, show me what you got.
Was it supposed to do something different than it was supposed to?
No, you showed me that. You don't have anything to bring to me. On the day of my envisioned daughter's wedding. All right. I'm gonna come back.
Okay.
I'm gonna expect double. Ready? I'm gonna come back in like 10 minutes.
Next time, just don't bring your laptop
Okay.
battery. Yeah. By this time in class will be dead. You'd be like, can't show you.
Okay, show me things. It's still. Oh, you're gonna have to look at things. No.
Well, I'll
Hey, oh wait, did you close? Did you close this and reopen it? Actually, physically, like force. So if I do this. Oh, you don't even have good activity manager. What? Okay, so if you quit, we exit. You ran through the install, right? If I go to Finder, I tap on your downloads. I go by date. I am like your mother. We're gonna make sure you do this homework. Your teacher told us that you didn't have this homework done. We're gonna make sure it's. Whoa, I almost sat on air.
Those donuts.
Sorry, I just have to get over my reaction. It's just like going, it's not, I almost fell. it's that I just tried to sit on air. Okay, that's what Okay, I can't look at you right now. All right. Sorry. I'm laughing at my own reaction to how to do that. That instead of realizing that I almost fell, I described it as I just tried to sit on air. I know, but it's kind of a weird. Okay. Did you know? Okay, not showing tips anymore. Okay, so it says that the issue is, oh, Android 24. That's your problem. Okay, so when we look at your stuff, we should be seeing oh, look at this. Let's put 23. So we're going to do build.
I think you need to change your target server.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true.
And there's one further down.
We're going to target this today. And we're going to support that content 23. Just because I probably don't want to be pushed to like okay, so what it's telling me is that you didn't download anything else from these. So we can launch the standalone SDK manager.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So if you click up here, it will actually show you go through it all.
I did not realize that.
And then you guys.
this.
Oh, that was really cool.
What's wrong?
No, we thank you for throwing the door up.
Oh, somebody else threw a lure up?
Oh, I thought you did.
No?
No, they're not doesn't cute.
That was me, so I guess.
Okay.
Because I've been trying to do it for everybody in the place. Because I had like a whole bunch of Google Play credits
Yeah.
that I'm never going to use.
Oh.
No, they don't transfer like that. But they're like, here's like $50 in Google Play credit. We'll add it to your account. I'm like, okay. I don't need to buy that many games. I really don't want to give Candy Crush any money, so.
Oh, that's wrong.
King doesn't deserve money. I will play their game, but only out of spite for myself.
Yeah, it's gonna do
I
it
have to
separate.
block it.
Huh? See? Do you hate yourself a little bit? Like Candy Crush.
I don't think you're that popular. Thoughts that I could follow.
Look, downtown Carrollton's in there.
Downtown Carrollton has like a million Pokestops.
There's 1,000 English players there.
Yeah, that's true. Same thing with Deep Ellum, too.
Yeah, almost every place.
You know you could add some, right?
What?
You can add Pokestops at the Pokemon Go website. All you gotta do is take a picture. And
Yeah, and then that's what somebody did at the Fry's in Irving, or the people who own Fry's, because they put 7 Pokestops inside of Fry's by taking pictures of different landmarks and then claiming it's the landmark.
They did that in Ingress. If you look at Ingress, they're all there.
Yeah, I know.
But for the Pokemon.
Yeah, it's from the same thing. But what they've done is now inside of Fry's in the Irving one, they have lures attached constantly. So it basically forces you to like walk in
Wow.
And the whole store is a giant just poke trap.
Oh my God. I was very by there, so that's good.
Yeah, you know what sucks? I work extremely close, and I've been so tempted because like a couple of my coworkers like live in the little neighborhood behind there,
Oh, really?
or the like apartment complex. They're like, yeah, I just go to Fry's, walk around Fry's for 10 minutes, get like 3 levels up, and I'm like, I actually have to walk my dog. Like, I'm only level 8, and that's because I do it when I walk my dog. She loves it though.
You see that picture of the dog that's just dead on the
Yes.
ground? We've gone for a walk 9 times. What the hell's a Pokemon?
What are these Pokemons? What is a Pokestop? Now I'm full of eggs. I need to get more incubators.
How do you
Okay, I
get,
don't have
how do
any
you
more
get those
incubator
coins?
shops. What?
The Poke coins?
How do I get Pokecoins? What?
You buy them,
Or you,
battle with it, or you defend the gym.
if you put a Pokemon on the gym, you can, and then you go into the store and click on the button in the upper right corner and get 10 points per Pokemon.
That you,
Have it in gym.
that is number 1 Pokemon.
Doesn't have to be number 1.
It has to be.
Really? I thought I'd have to beat people's. When I saw the Pokemon that were in the gym, I'm like, I got no hope.
Actually, you do, as long as you can defeat
The first guy.
Wait a minute, same color or different color?
Different color.
Yeah, you have to wipe them all out, but you could do it though, and just grind them. You have to grind them.
Well, no, eventually you get to the top dog and you get the highest. It will only be able to beat him.
They're getting so tough because you have to understand, I live in a neighborhood where the middle school and the high school are like literally 2 blocks away. And so both of those are Poke gyms. And I've got a park right next door. So like my whole area be jamming with like, yeah, my neighborhood is Bob Marley. It's always jammed with people. Okay.
So you're allowed to fight 6 guys and it's they're kind of good.
Always
You're top
something you can say.
Oh, really?
That's a new saying.
Down there,
It's so many good things.
Oh, you just click on.
I really
Or while
should
in
do
battle,
stand-up,
right?
but I would also
battle, how
probably
do you
offend
switch out?
everyone.
You just look a little button on the bottom.
Yeah, but I can do it cleanly,
Oh, maybe I only
obviously,
took
no
the-
curse words
I
were
need to
said,
shoot up my guys.
no
This is
inappropriate content.
Oh,
You know.
Friend the gym, it's all
Yeah, you can
over.
fix all of those.
Okay, yeah,
things
well,
that you
just find
said.
the-
Yeah, but see, the problem is
the
Bill
guy
Cosby
is
has
like-
destroyed friendly
I don't know,
comedy
you have like 400 CP.
for everyone. So,
Other than that,
Yeah, so that's why it's actually.
do you see how this is a problem?
Pokemon
Okay,
as the lowest,
alright, so you
Okay.
so that anybody can train them.
all right. Yeah, because one like the lowest
You get
one
the
was
same,
only 500.
You get the same training whether you're battling like the number 1 guy.
So,
The more you defeat, the more prestige the
we're gonna do
gym
build,
gets. So I got to like the last guy with one of my guys,
build,
and they got like 300 prestige.
Um,
And then I just kept on doing that until we raised level, and then I threw my guy in there.
kids.
Defend it. Yeah,
Oh!
But I think,
I need to get
I
you
don't know, I think
build
there's more
vision.
regiments of them, so if you want to
Smart.
defend them, I think that
I
might be
told you
good.
I'm smart.
the reason that
But not
most
really.
people would say so.
Oh, okay.
I just look like it on TV.
Yeah, I just decided to.
Oh, yeah.
No, but it's the gentleman,
It's your choice.
well, some of my friends are yellow, some
It's not a big deal, it's that you also didn't have the 24
So
installed.
with the Valley and other gyms,
But
you
also
just switch
because
up.
I don't wanna
But
play
they
around
don't
with the
necessarily have
buttons.
6, right? Depending
So-
on their level.
But even if you just take one,
24 is for advanced users, I think
Oh,
it's
yeah,
not-
yeah.
But it defaults you to it,
They have like 20,000.
because it's the newest.
You get beat up with
And it's for newest.
You get-
Nougat is such a crappy candy that you put nuts in it, cover it with caramel, and then coat it with chocolate and call it Snickers, and you still don't consider it the best candy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, what's wrong
I
with the
think
package
what's double
manager?
is defender. So you're
If
level
it's the
five.
name of the package
Yeah,
manager,
one
we will
defender.
see
You're level
it.
two, you have two defenders.
Yeah.
Level three.
No.
you have
No,
two
well,
defenders.
one of mine.
No, Nougat is the
But,
version
so
of
by the time you
Android
get
that you're
level
getting,
one,
which is called Nougat.
you
You
have
know what
six
people
total
have
versus
described
one defender?
things that come out of not pleasant places as nougats.
And
so- I lobbied for Nutella. In fact, I made a thing with Nutella to go and made it Android to go Nutella version, like photoshopped it and everything, and it actually ended up on like a bunch of like blogs and stuff like that where they like cited me and I got a lot of Twitter followers or something. But I was totally in the Nutella can. They have like one of those Nutella cans. I took a picture with all my Androids behind it and photoshopped everything together. It looked really good.
But it didn't work out in the end.
It did work out in the end.
Sergey didn't like it.
I think it really has to do with the fact that Nutella was probably like, we don't advertise now. So, what?
There was a contest on painting my iron and
Oh, well, is there,
I have to ask.
okay, I just finished. Yeah,
Did she have a chocolate consistency or? See, that was the problem. It was false advertising. That's a false advertisement. Oh, that's good. That'd be awesome. Theme project.
That's good. That's so
yeah, I heard you do a lucky egg and then you go like, yeah, and you put Aurora.
There's also Pidgey Cow, so it tells you how many Pidgeys or Ratatatas that you need to like catch, and what is the optimal times to use a lucky egg and to buy a lucky egg, and what numbers you need for all of your evolutions.
Hey, do you know how to use the radar?
No, I am not that advanced.
Okay.
I haven't figured that one out.
I just know that we have a Slack channel. What? What?
3 foot.
What is it
What
complaining about?
Yeah, so I was like, oh, yeah, walk around. I'm like, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that foot thing is glitched because it's just one
Highest
foot
feature
for everything
version.
and no one
Oh
for the
wow. Okay.
I've not had one foot before, but yeah, normally everything I get is
With
like
the
3
GDP
foot. I
used.
walk, and then they drop off.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Okay, we're gonna go back to
Yeah, I
the
can figure it out now.
You guys see those that I don't know if it's like a website or app that goes to get all the Pokemon.
Oh, what?
I see a website too. It's like I think it's on Apple. Apple on
You want to see
Oh, really?
yeah, but is it good? I haven't tried it.
Yeah, I just
I have seen
changed it.
Let's say look at them with the subscription.
Yeah. Did you hear what the police station did?
Which one?
Oh.
No.
Someone said that the police station sent like took out an email to people with warrants. And say, oh, there's no people out here.
Ah!
Ooh, but I don't know if that's true.
That's cool. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, it is.
No, seriously though, when I used my lucky egg when I was at Addison Circle.
Oh, yeah, that's a good place.
Yeah.
There was a conversation about which Walmart sold cards and stuff.
But no,
We're old enough to
You know
remember
what?
when
You're right,
Pokemon
and
Pokemon only had 2
I
colors.
blew it.
Yeah.
It was red and blue.
Yeah, and yellow was a big deal.
The green was like, what? How is there a green?
I
You're like, no one
guy
gets
that had
those,
like
this is stupid.
150
Yeah.
CPs and like
Stores
small
worse.
tables.
It's apparently Pokemon Go is typically, I think, I don't know.
Okay. So,
Yeah, you're right.
and then I'm gonna trust you. I'm gonna trust you, John. All right. Wait. Show it.
It wasn't, PG.
I was about to. I was around. I remember. That's why I said your name.
And they're not bad.
Let me see your stuff.
Actually,
Those are my best guys right now, the YouTube, but I won Joel from a lot, but I didn't get over it.
Oh,
I know,
it's
it's
cheat,
class,
or if you name it
man.
after one of
Just
those,
have like
yes, if you name it after one of the Evie brothers,
I want high
It's
five.
It goes
actually
to that
surprisingly
specific-
simple, but it's.
I
the
heard
actual
about that, but
application
we're
is
like,
super
well,
simple.
what are the chances of it?
it works.
it takes 2 seconds to edit the name.
Touch all your
Yeah.
stuff.
Like to get the one on.
Sorry,
Yeah, I have a big on.
Why is it
So hold on, so you change it to,
Oh, I'm making
Just search it up, it was Pokemon Go, Evie brothers, and I bet you there's like 100 searches about it.
Yeah. I have 2 flame rods.
Alright, let's make it.
Therions.
Not the kind
Yeah,
of
oh my
explosion I was looking
God,
for,
too.
but
I want one of these.
it did still
You
explode.
could
So
literally
you
just
made me
name
sneeze.
each of them different ones, and then you could go.
You want pizza?
No.
All right, we've accomplished things. I believe in us. I believe in us.
No, but good works.
Congratulations, everybody.
So far, the message already says total, colon, and the price.
No. So, what are you gonna do after this? You are going to watch this video that is like 6.5 minutes long called Chatting with Google's Alice Yang. And then you're going to watch a thing that says congrats. And then you're going to look at learn more on your own because it's going to give you some more demonstrations and some other things that you can do to bring up on those skills and reinforce them for what we did today. And then there's more. Practice set 2. We're actually going to have a little more to do with our coffee app, as well as work on some other things like parties and scores and healthy living. It's basically copy paste of the existing code that you have for the most part. But
actually, most of practice set 2 is called
okay, so can I expect you guys to do? I know last time you had 2 weeks to do the homework. Do you think you can do it in 1 week?
Yeah.
You have weekends?
We are here to learn things, we're going to do the homework.
Yes, I'm going to see things. There's going to be homework you're going to have to show me and demonstrate that you know what you're doing by showing me a working thing. Yes. So finish practice set 2.
So since last time there was a reward, I think this time there should be a punishment for not doing it.
Oh, that's a question. What do I do as a bonus? What is going to be the bonus challenge? What's something that you guys think would be a good bonus challenge?
What's the general idea of the practice set?
The practice set is really to go through multiple versions and iterations of, like last time how the practice set involved all the stuff that basically helped you make that happy birthday application, right? Gave you some other things to think about. And this is, by going through the practice set, we also saw that nobody came through with the exact same thing, right? Like everybody did it slightly different. Everybody had different style. You're going to see the same thing here, right? So, you know what I would love? I would love if you could make it send me an email, formatted email when I hit that, like when it says the email directory and Cola Wars and things on those lines. When we have like those counters and trips and stuff, I would love if it would send me an email of the result. So if you can make it send me when I hit the final button of the results, send me an email of those results. I can see it in class that you wrote code that sends me an email.
Put that in chat.
I will put that in chat, yes.
We talked about a code counter, right?
Yes, for it to, the COLA counter, there's a few other practice sets, but if you make the results at the end, either add an extra button that it sends me the results from that page, or it sends me a result of, you know, what else has happened. So on any of the example apps that we have to finish for next week, make it send me an email, or add an extra button that sends an email.
Send the core counter? Send you an email of like, of the values that are on here, is that?
Right. So if we have like the court counter, and I have the thing that's set, that you could send, that I can hit, and it sends me an email.
Send the scores, basically.
Right, send scores.
To add one more button into the newsletter.
Yeah, maybe even anywhere, right? Anywhere that says send score sends me an email. And you guys know my email, right? I'll put it up there again. But if it sends me an email of those scores, and what would be even cooler is if it sends me when those scores were updated. So like if I started by hitting one of the buttons, or I hit start and stop, it lets me know when each of those buttons were hit. That's extra bonus. Show it, Manas. I expect that of you. Right? And show everybody else up. All right. I want that for everyone else. I expect that.
If it's safety and everything, so I have to, so you have to, for the extra bonus, you have to
Make it send me an email.
tune in to the scores.
Yep. Extra bonus. Extra bonus has it so that it lets me know when each of those scores went up or down, right? So for the court counter,
So like sends you constant updates on.
not constant updates. I'm saying like, okay, so at 4 minutes 30 seconds, court counter A, B, C went up, right? Like, and then shows me the score. Like every time the score changes, it tells me the time, and then the score, and then that's, you hold that, and that's, and when I hit send, it sends me all that history, right?
So, like, if we average the score as well as like what time
Doesn't show it in the app.
Oh, it sends
Shows me in the email, right?
What time you hit each button.
And what the score was, right? So every time it updates, it has to give me a time from when I started, and then also the score, right? You can ask for help. That's why we have the Slack channel. You can ask for help for anything. And I'm gonna come up with some really cool prizes. Last time we had cool prizes. Some of y'all were like going, "Oh, can I turn in late?" And well, now you have an opportunity to get even more cool prizes. Not saying it's even the same prize. Different prizes. You can't. You can't find those anywhere. I know. Did you look to try and find them? You can't. I told you they were special edition.
I couldn't even find
Like
pictures of them.
I'm
Like,
telling
yeah,
they are legit special edition.
Yeah.
I told you they were special edition. I didn't mean like everybody can go get them on Amazon. It's like special edition.
Do you like cookie price?
What?
Do you like cookie price? The code for last week.
Oh, yes. And yes, I saw your thing. Okay. So you can come by my car. I have your extra special prize in my car. Luckily, my car is right next to the door. It's the one with the Android stickers and the new yak on it, and says Northwestern on it. It also says like GPL v3, free as in freedom. You know, like
The hard to spot card.
the oh no, I don't use Linux at all car. Like borderline Windows hate by how much love for Linux there's on that car. Well, at least it doesn't sound like I'm strangling a like ice cream truck, so it's okay. Okay, everybody's good. We can go. Yay! We win. Okay. So we got some pizza for people to take. I think I'm gonna take the mushroom because there's like a lot of it left. Like, plus my husband will definitely eat double mushroom. But grab pizza peoples. Yes, sir. Those teas are vegetarians. You can put them in your box. And then there's chicken and jalapeno, single piece left.
So.
Yes. Go. Thank you. Alright, I think I'm just gonna take this one. You should take this too. It's green pepper and banana. Yeah. Okay, you probably didn't. Okay, so what I want you to do is target your SDK and your version to be 23 and not 24. Okay, and then also download the SDK for 23 and 22, because a lot of the issues we were having with her are because of Java versions and things like that. And sorry, I'm taking this one home.
No, it's okay.
I didn't cook for him today, so he had to fend for himself, which probably meant cereal. Knowing
Hey, do you wanna?
I love him to death, but he won't even microwave stuff sometimes.
Hey, free pizza's even better.
I agree.
You ready? Sweet. Thank you very much. All right, and we are gonna shut this guy down. See you guys.